I I was almost like I was like I had everything ready, got the kids in the bed. I come in the office, just about gets things set up, and I looked down and the rug in my office was gone, and I was like, what the hell? So I was like, Caroline, this is my wife. I was like, what'd you do to the rug in my office? She's like, I gave it to my parents. She's like, I didn't think you liked that rug. I was like, well, I hated the rug, but the rug kept the sound down. It serves a purpose.
It was my rug.
But it serves a purpose.
That's funny. You go buy a new rug for my office right now.
So I had to go steal the rug from our bedroom and drag it in here to the office to keep the noise down because I have echo problems.
Is the rug just on the floor or do you have it hung up on something? Oh.
No, it's just on the floor, but it's hardwood floors.
You are from Tennessee, so I assume you use a clothesline still. So I would assume that if it's hanging on a clothesline in your office, which, to be honest, is probably really good for sound. But
right.
I mean, see, in Utah we have a dryer, right? So we put our clothes in a dryer, and there's like lint and all this stuff.
We still have those, things called dryers.
Dryer sheets. Do you use dryer sheets?
We don't use washboards and hangers.
You use washboards.
My grandma in Kansas has a washer and a dryer. She refuses to use the dryer most of the time. She just hangs everything on the clothesline still. I'm like, just throw it in.
One of my friends gets so mad if his girlfriend puts his clothes in the dryer. I'm like, that's so weird. He's like, it wears them out too quick. I'm like, who cares? Just go buy more shirts.
If I didn't have a dryer, all of my clothes would be wrinkled.
Right. And he'll wear them wrinkled. He'd rather them be No, he doesn't do that. Let's be realistic. He just wears them wrinkled. He's like, well, at least they have lint all over them and they'll last longer, even though I look like a homeless person.
What kind of cream are you using there, Jesse?
Oh, just sugar-free hazelnut.
Oh, hazelnut, huh?
That sugar-free life, bro.
Dude, I went to the store the other day to get creamer, and they didn't have, I'm looking in the refrigerator. I went to, Dollar General or whatever, because it's right around the corner. And I usually just go buy coffee at a coffee place. But I was like, we have a bunch here. My mom just, picked up a bunch of those K-Cups that we never used before. But, I mean, we did, but we kind of quit using them. But anyway, I went to go get creamer so I could have coffee. And they didn't have any in the dang refrigerator. She's like, oh, but we have it on the shelf. And I was like, what? And I look, and it's the same thing as that. But they apparently now they have a you only have to refrigerate it after you open it.
Oh, they have a pump one, right?
Right. Yeah, I didn't.
Those ones are never as good. I don't know what the difference is.
This is just a small bottle that they had on the shelf, but it looks the same as the one they put in the fridge, but it says new look, same great taste, and only refrigerate after opening. I'm like, that seems
interesting.
Like it has more bad stuff in it now.
We've left
that seems sketchy,
right?
Yeah, we've left creamer out overnight before, and it's always good. We just throw it back in the fridge in the morning, if we forget. But it's because it's non-dairy, and I don't know what's in it, but it doesn't spoil very fast. So we always just throw it back in the fridge. So I'm sure it'll last some time. But I honestly don't know what the difference is between this one, which is, the regular refrigerated one, and a pump one. Mm-hmm. But I always, every time it goes somewhere and they have a pump, I'm like, ugh, not as good.
Right.
It's trailer trash. I don't know why. I just assume it's not good enough because it's not in the fridge. It's not in the fridge, so it's ugh. But then what's the actual difference? Probably nothing. Right. I'm sure that this probably doesn't even have to go in the fridge.
You get that redneck pump creamer out of my coffee.
Exactly. I'm like, ugh. Original? No thanks.
Is that from Taco Bell?
For 20 years, I've prided myself into drinking coffee just black. Sugar straight. No coffee. I mean, no creamer, no sugar, nothing. But in the last, month, for some reason...
You discovered sugar?
No, I wouldn't put sugar in my coffee for nothing. Half and half. I started putting a little bit of half and half in there, just cutting it a little bit, and it's pretty good.
Blech.
Isn't it weird that people that drink black coffee pride themselves in it?
It's weird because they've got past the disgusting taste and able to actually drink it.
Yeah, they destroyed their taste buds.
They're much. I finally made it to where I don't make a weird face every time.
Exactly. It's I destroyed my taste buds so much, now I just enjoy it. It's it's because you can't taste what's good or bad anymore.
Right.
No, I still love the taste of black coffee, but the reason I had to start doing it is because you go get we run by a coffee shop, a Starbucks, or greens or whatever and get a cup of coffee, it is so hot that you can't drink it for an hour. Like it's just boiling hot. So I had started doing it for that, and then I was like, I kind of like it. So
yeah,
I'm gonna stick with half and half.
Yeah, I'm a sissy. I love creamer. I don't drink black coffee.
No, my dad always
drinking
did.
Decaf coffee with hazelnut creamer in it, which we sugar-free.
It's delicious. I'm comfortable with my sexuality, Jesse. So get out of here, okay?
He's like, I'm married with 3 kids. I give a shit less.
Yeah, man. At this point, pretty good.
What's good is good.
That's right.
So this podcast is brought to you by Work Gear. From your shop to your home to what you make, build, restore, or renovate for yourself, your family, or your profession. It doesn't matter. Work Gear is a brand that supports your lifestyle with performance gear and apparel, delivering all-day performance and all-day comfort. I have the Work Gear gator. I use it for sanding, routing in the shop all the time. Absolutely love it. And actually as a mask to go to certain stores that require it. I wear it all the time. It is fantastic, breathable. I love it. I'm actually wearing one of their performance sweatshirts. I've worn it for 3 days straight. My wife is telling me to wash it, but I refuse. It is so comfortable. And I love their stuff. So make sure you guys go check them out. We have a promo code for you. It's GBS15, GBS15 for 15% off all their gear. Make sure that you go check them out. Follow them on Instagram. When you support our sponsors, you support us. So thank you for watching. Make sure you go check them out. What'd you boys do this week?
Go ahead, Jesse.
Busy week.
I could answer for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, your work life seemed really stressful this last couple days.
Yeah, feel real bad.
The work life was. I did a busy week at work.
It was stressful getting all that fun shit in.
Yeah. But I got all my work done by Friday afternoon, and then I was able to get a bunch of fun shit in. So, Friday we went to the minor league ballpark here in town, the Nashville Sounds. Me and probably 14 other guys guys from the gym, some buddy of ours, went and did batting practice for 2 hours on the minor league field, which was a lot of fun. Played baseball my whole life growing up, so to get out on the baseball field again and just shack some balls and take some batting practice, and it was fun, but definitely felt my age a little bit.
Right.
38 out there, swinging a bat as hard as I could because, I was really actually trying to hit one out and it didn't work.
Hey, you got close. You sent us that video.
I did.
You were so proud of yourself. I also, when you sent the video, you implied that you hit a home run. And I was like, there's no way that was a home run. And you're like, no, I hit the warning track. And I was like, oh, okay. So we had to call you out for you to actually admit you didn't hit one.
I didn't imply it. I just left it open for interpretation.
Oh, okay. It's very political of you.
Then we went over to Top Golf, spent a couple hours at Top Golf, and then played in a local golf association. So we have our championship every year we do, which is a 2-day golf tournament. So played golf yesterday morning and then played golf this morning as well. So
you're the most busy person I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
It's like, what'd you do today? Well, where do you want me to start?
Yeah.
Got up at 3 a.m., started playing hockey,
My dad took my kid to hockey practice yesterday and gave me some relief on that, which was nice. And
there you go.
But we teed off at 8 a.m. I was done by noon. Got the grass mowed and got in the shop today, started getting things cleaned up. I'm refusing to make any videos. I'm refusing to do any projects or anything until my shop is back in good working order. With the move and everything, it got cluttered and dusty, and I saw the pictures of my dust collection. There's just dust everywhere where my dust collection had come apart and it wasn't suctioning right. Mm-hmm. So I'm completely just taking everything out, blowing out the entire shop, getting all the dust and everything out, taking down all the piped in dust collection. I'm going to go back to just old school, removing the hose, going to a next tool kind of dust collection for a while until I get a better system. So worked on that and got it. It's getting close and it's looking really nice and clean. So excited about that.
That's awesome.
Sweet. What's your next project going to be or video?
Oh, I think I'm going to do a quick video in the next couple of days on the strength of dovetail grooves and using them with clamps. Because I use a lot of the micro jig dovetail clamps in shop projects.
I've wondered about that.
Yeah.
Especially in like MDF.
Absolutely. And I get a lot of questions about it, like what type of material, how strong is it? And I think I'm just going to put some dovetail grooves in several different types of material, MDF, plywood, hardwood, softwood, put some in, just some regular construction pond, and test their limits and see what they do and do a good video on that. Just so
you should get like a scale, like a food scale that maybe like goes really high, and then make like a bridge over the dovetail, and then you can like put a clamp in the dovetail and then clamp onto the scale and see how many pounds it takes before it rips out certain kinds of woods.
Yeah.
That's a cool video though. That's a smart video, because I've wanted that forever. I've never seen anybody actually test until they break, or how if they do break or whatever. So I've
done some research on it. There really isn't any videos out there that show it. I have an hypothesis on it. I'm going to keep it to myself for the video, but I think it'll be good. I think it'll be interesting. I think people will like it, and it'll be a good reference video for when people ask me those questions, because I use them a lot.
That's cool.
Sweet.
What about you, Brandon?
Well, last couple of days I've been building this clamp cart for a video and for work. I've had people like, why are you building the clamp cart when you have the clamp wall? You don't like the clamp wall? What's wrong with the clamp wall? I'm like, nothing. Jeez.
Your clamp wall is awesome.
Not for me.
To be fair, if they weren't watching your video or your stories all the time and they saw you building, they're like, what the heck? I understand, because your clamp wall is freaking cool.
That's what I said in my stories too. I'm like, I guess you guys actually have a life and don't watch all my stories. That's rude. Whatever. But yeah, the clamp cart will be for my day job, which surprisingly a lot of people still think I work on small engines. I posted it in my stories, and then I had like 5 people, I thought you were a small engine mechanic. I'm like, I was like 4 months ago. Yeah. Like, I've said a bunch of times I work here.
That's right. I think a lot of that has to do with Instagram algorithm for you.
And I never really put it on my feed, I don't think.
Yeah.
Either. So,
but a lot of the time, people update their lives like that. They're like, hey, I've been full time, and then I'll see it, and I'm like, hey, congratulations. Like, yeah, it's been 8 months. I'm like, well,
yeah, well, that's like Joe switched his name, and I didn't even know.
Yeah, that was a while ago. That was probably.
I'm like, I talked to that guy. Like, oh wait, that's somebody I actually do know.
I'm terrible about that as well, though, Brandon. I'm really bad about paying attention to stuff like that.
Dude, I'm so bad. Like, somebody will message me and I'll answer them, and then I'm like, oh, that name sounds familiar, and then I'll go back and look, and we've had like full blown conversations like for pages and pages, and I'm like, I'm a bad person.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember any of it.
I'm like that with even group messages, right? You guys know that. I don't. Unless you message me one-on-one, I'll almost always respond one-on-one. But if it's in a group message, good luck. Yeah. I mean, even text messages with my wife and her family, dude, I hardly ever message in those. It's like, Brooke's like, so you know the plan on Saturday? I'm like, nope. Don't know.
Like, hold on, let me scroll back.
Like, we just talked about it in the group message. We're going boating. You know that, right? I'm like, didn't know that, but
I do now.
Thanks for informing me.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, making the clamp cart, making a video on that, trying to get some plans together. Haven't had a video out in like 3 weeks, so that's definitely coming out on Saturday. And that's about it. Finished up the vanity all the way. So the drawers are in and everything's good with that. And stuff. Not the drawer pulls yet. Those they're probably here. She was going to stop by Home Depot and pick some out. So whenever she gets those, I'll put those on, and that'll be it. Nice. But yeah, they got all the drawers installed and everything, and it's good to go. Yeah, we've been using it for a while. After I put that wax on the top, the water spots went away and they haven't returned. So that's a good thing.
That's good. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. What about you?
Well, today I rearranged my whole office. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can tell that the background's completely different. So I moved my desk around. I kind of flipped around everything and lined it up. I started building this shelf. I was telling you guys before the podcast. And then my wife came in. We were talking about it, and I realized I put it way too high, because it's supposed to be underneath the TV. And right now that's probably at 4.5 feet high. I'm like, wait, that means the middle of the TV is going to be like 7 feet in the air. So you're just like,
it's like watching a TV in a hospital bed.
Yeah, I was like, this is dumb. So I got to move that down to the top of the brick, which I had one wall of brick. I put this one across. This one back here I put in, and then I also ran more power and ran some more outlets and stuff like that. So yeah, it was good though. It's good to have this set up. I cleaned the shop today as well, which is good. And I got to finish that epoxy table, man. It's Brandon knows it's gonna be the death of me. It's so bad, dude. Yeah. So let's dive into it.
I was about to say, let's just get into this right now because I know it's been bad.
Yeah. So I put it on melamine, and apparently I let it get way too hot. Which I know that
I told him not to.
You did. And if you can go back and listen to the other podcast. But yeah, so I let it get way too hot. The first layer. And it was fine for about 4 hours. It wasn't overheating. It was right.
What really surprised me when you FaceTime me and I was like, how long has it been in there? You're like, oh, it's at 100 whatever degrees. And you're like, oh, it's been like 3 hours. I'm like, oh, it should be. Yeah, well, it should be already peaked by now.
Yeah. So after 3 hours, it was only at 100 degrees, which I'm like, that's not bad at all.
It's pretty normal.
Yeah.
Actually.
So I was like, perfect. It's not overheating. I mean, it was supposed to be deep pour. And so you're supposed to 2 inches is the max, they say, but I wouldn't do it.
Depends on the volume too, though.
Yeah, so I only did an inch, maybe not even an inch, but close to an inch. And it was after 3 hours at 100 degrees. So I was like, I'm money, dude. This is going to be easy. Everything's going to work fine. I came back. I don't know. I called you after, I think at 30 minutes. And it went for some reason, after 3 hours, it hit 100. And then from 100, it went to 200 in about 30 minutes. And I have no idea why it jumped so fast. And
that's weird.
Yeah, in my shop, the temperature in my shop didn't change. It's insulated. I didn't keep anything open. Nothing should have changed. But I freaked out, and I was like, "Oh, okay, what am I gonna do?" And you said put fans on it, and we don't. I asked my wife, "Do we have fans?" She's like, "We don't have any fans." I'm like, "We don't have fans." So we have ceiling fans in every room, so we don't need a fan. Right. And so she suggested go get the AC unit from we have a small one for our trailer.
I was so confused because you're like, I just put an AC on it. Dude. I was like a whole AC unit.
I was trying to figure out where you got that from.
It's a tiny one. It's just for a window, but we put it in one of the windows for our trailer, and it's perfect. It'll keep our whole trailer really cool, even when it was really hot out camping. So I grabbed it, threw it on top of the slab part, and then clamped a big port of MDF on top so it would redirect the AC down.
Oh, man.
And I did it, and it cooled it down within an hour and a half, back down to about 120, and then it slowly went down. But I think it was just too late, that part. So I think that screwed up. Anyway, and then I did the rest, and the rest I think I did pretty fine. It never got over maybe 120. I don't know.
Yeah, max. But you used something else, right?
Huh?
You didn't use the deep pour for the rest.
No, I used the medium flag stuff. So I poured it in a very smaller, like maybe a 1/4 inch at a time, if that.
Yeah.
Even if that. So then I filled it up, finished it. When I went to demold it from the melamine, it didn't demold. So
dude, I was laughing so hard when
I started hammering it.
Said that.
Well, the top.
I was like, told you.
Well, the top.
Jess P's like, he did tell you.
Yeah. But dude, the top was coming off fine. It's mostly that bottom part where it got really hot. But that fused basically all the melamine to the sides. And after I got the sides off, I was like, well, I'll just cut off the sides. We'll be good to go. And then it hit me. Oh, I have the whole bottom piece to take off. There's no way I'm getting that off. And so that's when I started deciding I need to route it off. So I flipped it over, put my router sled on there, started routing. And it took, dude, I've only done half of it. And I got finally down through the 3/4 of an inch I had to route off because of the stupid melamine, which the first top part of melamine, my arm's sitting there as I'm moving, and those little plastic pieces freaking fling out your arms.
I was just going to ask that.
Dude, it hurts
how much
so
melamine
bad.
Is stuck in your forearms?
Dude, it was horrible. And so I finally got all that off. And, so I planed it all off. And once it got down to the epoxy, I started going over it, and it was... the deep pour is not either set yet or mixed wrong because it is not hard. It's gooey and it's horrible.
I've had that happen too, but not with that, with the different epoxy. But as far as I could tell, people that knew more about epoxy than me were just saying that I must not have got it all mixed good or something.
And maybe that's what it was. You were saying that you should mix it how long in a bucket? I poured it into, it was a gallon and then a third of a gallon together. So that's how I knew I mixed it right. It's because I actually used full gallons. So they sent, it was a gallon of resin and a gallon or a third size of that hardener. So they're already pre-sized. And I just poured them in together and mixed it.
Yeah. So I've also heard recently that you're always supposed to put the hardener in first and then the resin for some reason.
I did not do that
because I didn't, but I've never done that, and I've never
done that either,
except for that one time. But
see,
yeah,
that's
I mean,
why
depends
I can't
on
be doing the epoxy stuff. There's just too many variables, and
what am I, a chemist?
Dude, I'm like halfway to Walter White now. Just saying, like at this point.
Right.
I felt so bad because you sent that picture out, and I saw the side of it where the melamine it's like stuck to it. And I was like, that's not too bad. You just use a track saw or something, cut that right off. You're good. And then you're like, well, what about the bottom? I was like, oh man.
I only said that because that's what happened to me. Yeah. And I was like, I feel bad, but I'm also glad I'm not alone.
It's not fun. So I've let it set for about 3 days where I thought maybe it just hadn't hardened enough. And I did a panic FaceTime call with Brandon when he was working, and then the guy who's working with started laughing at me.
No, he was just visiting. That's Josh from Humble Wood Company.
Okay, he was just visiting. Yeah, he messaged me on Instagram. But
he listens to the podcast.
Yeah, so he was like, you guys were both laughing at me because it looked so bad. But I had panic. I was like, what do I do? Because when I was routing it down and I got to that part, it started gumming up. And I was like, oh, this is not good. And so I stopped, and then I FaceTimed him. He's like, oh, let it go for about 2 days and see if it hardens. Well, it has not hardened yet. So
did you use anything on the melamine or just melamine?
No, I just used melamine. But
okay,
I know
that's good, because I've heard of people using like certain types of like mold releases or like leaving too much like cleaner on there, and it like reacts with the epoxy and does weird stuff like that sometimes.
So I know that some people messaged me that I should have used some sort of mold release. Then like one guy said he works with it every day, and that's all he does is epoxy stuff, and he uses melamine with a specific type of mold release, and it works super easy every time. Well, then I've heard, I talked to you, and you said like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And then I also heard some people actually use paste wax, like finishing paste wax on top of melamine. And it's supposed to help. Well, I didn't. I just went with just melamine. I did a small test just to see if it worked, and it worked. And listening to you, I trust you. So anyway, at this point, I'm going to.
I think if it didn't get hot, you would have been all right.
Maybe, I don't know, but
because I've done that before without anything on the melamine, and it was fine, but it didn't get hot.
Yeah, but
when
that doesn't change.
Get hot,
that doesn't change the fact it didn't harden, right?
No, I don't understand that.
I don't understand.
I would hit up Derek and see what he thinks about it.
But at this point, what I'm going to do is try to basically chip out or gum up and try to scoop out all that part and just keep lowering it until it hits to the epoxy. I know that's hard and finished. Mm-hmm. So, and it looks like from the sides, you can see the discoloration, right? Because the sides are usually, they change a different color when it's hard compared to whatever. And so you can kind of see where it dips down in little like half circles around, probably less than 1/4 of an inch. So I'm hoping if I can scoop a lot of that out and plane it down enough, I would still have over 1 inch thickness in the table.
Yeah.
It's just, dude, it's such a pain in the ass. I'm not happy with it right now.
Is it too much to just fill that with more epoxy once you scoop it out?
Yeah, but I don't know if... Oh, well, that's true. I could do that.
Because I distinctly remember, Brandon, this happening to you when you first started using epoxy and it didn't set up. And I'm almost certain you had to scoop a bunch of it out and fill it back in with epoxy.
Yeah, probably. It was for that bullet table.
Yeah.
Yes.
The second time.
Yeah.
That's the one I said I did, and some of it didn't harden.
Yeah.
Because you can come back in and just fill that void back with epoxy.
As long as you get the old epoxy that has not hardened out, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so
yeah, I sanded it off because I ran it through a belt sand. I mean, a wide belt, Charles's wide belt thing.
Anyway, but the good thing about all this is that part, since I poured that first, is on the bottom. So the top where you're actually going to see looks good still. So whatever I have to fix, no one's ever going to see. It's just the process of making sure it's fixed and stable and all that. Right. And then just getting the legs on it. So at this point, I just want it to be done, to be honest. But anyway, yeah, it's been a headache. So I've taken a few days off, and I did this today and cleaned my shop. And tomorrow I'm going down to get some walnut. So I have to drive all the way to Salt Lake. I think we talked about this in other episodes. I drive to Salt Lake to get my hardwood. So I'm going with my father-in-law tomorrow and grabbing walnut for a desktop for a friend that he's getting a home office, and he got one of those tables that rise so you can stand, but you can also sit down. So he has a very specific layout he needs. Shouldn't be a hard project. I like working with walnut. It's pretty. I take every chance I get. Someone else is going to pay for it,
Right.
Absolutely.
It's not
I
cheap.
think it's my favorite. I really do think that walnut is my favorite.
Have you guys worked with mahogany?
Just in cutting boards, I think.
Yeah, just small
I had a
pieces.
little bit of it. Yeah.
It's
I
pretty
think the
expensive
only
too,
one
right?
I ever got was from like Home Depot.
Oh. Yeah, it's pretty expensive, right? It's not quite walnut expensive, but it's still pretty pricey.
I can't remember, honestly. They don't sell it at my hardwood dealer, like in bulk, like in the bigger pieces. But I got like little strips at Home Depot to put in cutting boards when I first started, because that's where I bought the wood. And then in your mind, you're like, oh, the hardwood dealer is going to be more expensive than Home Depot, but that is not the case.
No.
Hardwood at Home Depot and Lowe's is ridiculous.
Oh, it's so expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's planed out and squared.
Well, and they sell it by the linear foot.
Yeah, linear foot compared to board foot.
Right. So it's like 1 inch or 3/4 by, 3 or 4 inch wide, and it's like $5 or $6 a foot. I'm like, what? No. Crazy.
Yeah. Hey, Jesse. So since we started talking about this, since when we were playing PUBG, since we mentioned that last podcast. Anyway, we were talking about this. You had a welding accident, because I've been looking into welders. I really want to get into welding. And you started telling me that. You never told me about this before. It kind of blew my mind. So I think you should tell that story. Have you heard it, Brandon?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Brandon's heard it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was 20, I was doing welding, metal fabrications, and stuff like that. I worked for a company that kind of did a little bit of everything. And we would go in and do, certain types of welding projects, make handrails or fix. In this case, it was like silos. So it was at a dog food plant here on the outskirts of Nashville, and had a big old silo that was probably, I think it was 110, 120 feet tall. And it sat like, there's a manhole cover on the side of it for the way you got into it for the entrance. And it was probably 18 or 19 foot up in the air. And my job that day was to go in and stick weld inside of the silo, because it had a crack down one of the corners. So to put a ladder up about 18, 19 foot, climb up it, go in a manhole, and then they handed me a ladder inside of it and had to go another probably 10 or 15 foot up inside of the silo to where the crack was. And I had been in there all day stick welding and stuff, trying to, I guess pretty much what I did, if I'm remembering correctly, is cut a triangle piece of metal out and set it into the corner of the silo, and I was stick welding it in. And as I was stick welding, I had to, bust the flak off of it, because it gets all flacked up or whatever, and you got to knock it off with a hammer.
Slag.
There you go. I think it's called flak. So I guess, is flak even a thing, or am I just making that up?
No, flak is like when you're giving someone flack. It's,
all right.
it's so like an
I'm
old
definitely
term.
just making it up. Right,
No. It's an old term for like giving somebody shit. Like flack is the same thing. Go ahead. My parents.
I've always just heard slag for welding.
Slag. I don't know, man.
Slag hammer.
So as I was hitting it inside and welding, there was a flour silo, and there was a bunch of flour caked onto the sides of the silo, and it came off as I was welding. And it was enough of it to where I thought that they had just opened the silo up with me inside of it. So I thought that I was going to get buried. When I looked up, I could just see just this giant white cloud, coming down on top of me. And so in your mind, I was like, oh man, this is it. This cloud coming in. What hits me and knocks me off my ladder, and my striker hit the side of the silo, and it wasn't enough to bury. It was just a lot of it coming from a high elevation, and it knocked me off. And as my striker hit the side, it in a combustible area like that, it's flammable. So it's basically the air and the dust particles. If you've ever, don't ever do this because it's a terrible mistake, but if you've ever thrown sawdust on a fire, it catches that sawdust on fire before it even hits the fire. It looks like the air is on fire.
Right.
So don't ever empty your dust collection bag into a fire. That's a terrible mistake.
Not that he's done that.
Yeah. He's like, after my third time, my wife said I can stop.
Yeah. But that's pretty much what it's like. Even just flour, it's flammable.
So the whole thing, flour being flammable, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I haven't heard the full, I haven't heard these details. So
this part of it. So it knocks me off the ladder and catches the whole thing on fire in the inside of it, a flash flame inside of it with me in there, and fell to the bottom. And so they had to have my exit and another at the top of it open for airflow to keep that dust particles and stuff out. Well, the problem is pulling all the airflow from the top to my exit. So when the air caught on fire, it sucked all the flames to my exit. So I had to run 3 or 4 steps in the silo with everything on fire to my exit that was pulling all the flames to the exit and jump out of it. And I was wearing a short sleeve shirt and blue jeans, and fell headfirst out about 18 feet. But I caught a air hose line, probably, I don't know, 1/2 inch air hose line that was running down the wall. It broke my nose and my thumb, but it flipped me because I went head first. I just dove out. Who cares if you're on fire? You just dive, right? So I just dove out head first. That hit that. It flipped me, and I landed on my feet, and was able to get out of there. And it wasn't good. So I went. Had to get airlifted to Vanderbilt. Spent, I think, a couple weeks in Vanderbilt Burn Center, then another couple weeks in a rehab center, and I was out of work for a year dealing with it. But I had 2 surgeries. Had to have skin grafts. They took all the skin off my back, all the skin off the sides of my legs, and then put them on my arms in a couple different places. And so my hand, you can see this hand right here if you're watching on YouTube, was all skin graft. All my arms are skin graft. And so this is a long time ago. I was it was 18 years ago. So I was 20. I spent my 21st birthday in the hospital because I can remember the doctor walking in. He was like, "You're 21." He's like, "I can't buy you beer, but we're gonna hook you up with some good stuff." So, I think
that's nuts.
I think out of the couple surgeries, I ended up with like 750 staples total, and then, to get everything going. And but that's my really fun welding story.
Have you thought about wanting to weld again? Because that would.
I've completely welded again. Yeah.
Oh, really? See, I think I'd be like, I'm gonna take about 20 years off of this and try something else.
No, I haven't welded any silos. Let's be clear.
I bet you haven't got back in a silo though.
No.
Dude, just the fact where it started coming off the top, and you look up, you're like, oh, they're filling it up, and I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
that is insane to me. Just the
but then it catches on on
Yeah.
Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
No.
It's got a lot worse. Now I'm on fire. Not gonna jump.
Jeez, that's crazy.
That's nuts, God was definitely looking out, and it all healed, and everything was good. But to segue that into woodworking, when I was 20, doing that metal fabrication stuff and welding, that's how I kind of began my love of building things and making things in the metal fabrication. And as when I went through that and then stopped at that welding job afterwards, I went on to do woodworking and stuff later on in life. And I think that really kind of set my love for making things and building. So I did enjoy that time as a welder, and I still love welding. When I can get a chance and I can weld, I'll weld for sure.
That's nuts, man. Well, I still want to get a welder, even though I'm second guessing now. No,
no silos.
Yeah, I'd like to.
No silos.
I'm not. I'll stay away. Thanks you, but no, I'd still like to get a MIG welder and learn a new trade. I think I might take some local college classes. We have a trade school here in town, and it's a technical college, but they do firefighting and the police academy and, you know, all these different trades that you can do. And welding's one of them. So I think I might take a few classes there just to get started, kind of know the basics of safety and stuff. Because this is one thing I was talking about with someone just this week, is that woodworking, the price to entry for woodworking is very low, very, very low. Because you can just buy a circular saw, a drill, and a Craig jig, and you can start building furniture. For welding, you're spending thousands of dollars to get in, and you pretty much need somebody to teach you. You don't have to, but I guess most people probably recommend it. And there's a lot more components to it, like gas, like you can get argon or carbon dioxide or whatever it is, whatever you're using for whatever thing. Plus there's a lot of combustible things, all of these. It's so much different. So the entry level is so much higher for welding than in woodworking. So we'll see. I think a lot of people probably don't do it because of that, right? Like woodworking, you don't see a big welding community. Maybe you do. Maybe I just haven't followed them enough. But I know I do follow a few.
No, there's a lot.
Really? Yeah. I just don't like. I mean, I follow a few. I don't remember their names.
Yeah, the guy at work that's a really good welder. He'll show me stuff on Instagram and stuff all the time.
So maybe I'm just.
Dude, have you seen like look up like, I don't know exactly what it's called, but they call it like TIG. Sorry, my girlfriend's talking to me. She's showing me. She says she wrote on my whiteboard, "Hurry up, you have shit to hang on the wall." So that's nice.
Anyway,
brand 15 domesticated person,
right?
So
I know.
Funny.
We just got the bathroom done, so she's really good at decorating. Like she's the Joanna Gaines of our area. I feel like nice. All of her friends are like, "Can you come decorate my house?" She's so good at it. But anyway, yeah, we got the bathroom done, so now she's all pumped. She just went to the store and bought a bunch of crap. I'm sure she wants me to hang it up for an hour and a half. But anyway, so yeah, the welding thing. I don't know what it's called, but I think he called it like. It's done with TIG and it's on like stainless or aluminum maybe, but they call it like a basket weave or something weird like that. It's almost like a double weld when they they walk the cup. It looks so braided. Crazy. Yeah, it's so nuts looking. I didn't even know they could do that stuff. And then if you look up like welding art, like people make like portraits with TIG welding and it's all like rainbow colored because they can control the heat and what color it turns because of how hot it gets.
That's
crazy. Like that's insane.
Yeah, I have to look it up.
But yeah, I mean, I'm learning all kinds of stuff. Like every time I walk over to the welding area, I'm just like mind blown by all the different things that can be done. And like, you know, there's like different like you were saying, different gases, even between like welding different materials. Like I didn't realize that. I thought it was just like argon or whatever, but it's like a mix. Like with our MIG machines, it's like, I don't know if it's normal, but we use 75-25 mix. It's not just straight argon. And then like he'll use straight argon on the TIG for some things, and then he uses different gas for aluminum or this and that. I'm like, holy crap, there's so much to learn.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it would be nice if you had a place. I would say it is a lot, but it would be nice if you had a place to go like try things out. Like if there was I don't know, like a store or something where you could go in the back, they had a room where you could try things out to ensure that you liked it, or, you know, you could actually do it before you made large purchases like that. It'd be kind of nice.
Yeah, that's why I feel fortunate working where I am now, because like say the welder, he's like always pumped when somebody's interested in like his craft. So it's cool. He'll just like he's like, all right, drop everything, let's do this. You know, you want to learn how to do this, and it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. It's a good resource. I'm jealous.
Sure.
Hey Jesse, so I had a question for you. This happened this week, and you as a father, I had to get your opinion on it. So it's embarrassing.
Oh geez,
but
you got an Xbox,
huh?
You got an Xbox?
Yeah, I did, but that has nothing to do with that. It has to do with kids, actually.
That's what you were talking about last week about kids. So that's what.
Yeah, no, this is different. So we were at jiu-jitsu. And Jack goes to jiu-jitsu with me. So I was doing my class. I was finished. Jackson does his before me. So he goes to like a playroom that the gym has. And he's out there with a bunch of other kids. They have a TV and lounge chairs and stuff like that. So he comes in with this other kid. My son is 4. This kid is probably 11. And he's kind of a douche, this kid. He's kind of a bully. He kind of picks on like the little kids. So I always try to tell Jack stay away from him, but whatever. And so he comes in and he says, this is the first time this has happened, but the kid's like, hey, he said, and then says a bad word. And I'm like, Jackson, what did you say? And so then he tells me what he said. And it is not a good word. It's not something I'm proud of. And so then I kept my cool. And so I made him apologize. And then we went in. And then in the car, he got it for about the 15-minute drive all the way home. Right. As a father, like, how did you deal with that the first time it happened? Were you pretty much like, it's going to happen? Or were you... How did you deal with that as a dad? When I assume your kids, that's happened before since they're 8, 9 or whatever.
Yeah, 100%. Especially now since my 8-year-old's hanging out in hockey locker rooms.
I was going to say, he plays hockey. He was talking like that when he was 4.
Yeah, it's definitely, especially when it hits you, when they're really young and they say something like that and it hits you the wrong way. And it's so hard not to laugh and yell at the same time and be mad and just, yeah. Because of course you don't want them saying it, but it's just funny sometimes.
Yes, dude.
But if you do like me, what I did is every single time that they said something like that, I blamed it on their mother.
Like their mom's a sailor. I tell you what,
man, she just, of course my wife, she doesn't even really cuss like ever, and I'm the complete opposite.
Yeah, that's funny. You're like, my wife's redhead, I apologize, I don't know what to... Yeah. The thing with Jack,
it's a tough situation,
dude. It was rough, like, and because the kid is a bolt, like he's not overly mean, like he's pushing on him or something. But in the car afterwards, I told him, like, why'd you call him that? And he's like, because he grabbed my arm. I'm like, why did he grab your arm? Well, because he was on a phone and I wanted to see what he was doing. And so then he grabbed my arm really hard. So I called him it. And I'm like, well, dude, like, if he grabs you like that, like aggressively, come get me. Don't say that stuff. Like, don't say it. You're way too young to be saying this stuff, But he used what he said, which was
in good context,
in the perfect context. And so I was a little like proud at the same time. I was like, this kid's smart. He's going places. And I called my wife and I was just like, can you guess what your son said? And she's like, what? I'll take her back. And I'm like, well, I'm
your
sorry.
Son?
Yeah. Yeah, well, when he does something bad, it's her son.
Right.
Exactly right.
Clearly.
Yeah, when I'm proud of him, he's my son. And so, anyway, it was the first time it's happened. And you literally, every single person that meets my son, who's 4 years old, like, me and my daughter, they're like, wow, she's a lot of personality. She's her own little thing. She's on her own beat. She does her own thing. My son, everybody says, he's the sweetest little boy. And so when he said this, it caught me so off guard, man. It caught me. So I was like, this is weird. I can't believe but he didn't know how serious.
He has no idea what it means. Yeah.
And then after I put him to bed, because he went straight to bed after we got home. I'm like, you're done. Go to bed. You're done. He looked back. I'm like, oh, dude, I got to do better as a parent. I got to watch my mouth more. I can't do this anymore. And then it goes to, I got to stop listening to podcasts in front of him. Like, I can't listen to Joe Rogan in front of my kids anymore. Because, they're 4 to 1 years old. So I was, in my head, I'm like, they're not listening. They're watching Bubble Guppies or whatever it is. And so I'm like, they don't care. And it's like, I got to start monitoring what I say, what my wife says, which she doesn't curse too much really at all. And, what my father-in-law says and stuff like that. It's like, we got to do better. We got to do better. But it was an experience. And
every time my kids have said it, they have no idea. It's just a word. Like, they have no clue even that they're saying something bad for the most part. Yeah. And, but yeah, man, they pick up on everything, everything, especially the older they get.
Yep. Yeah. It was a reality check for me. It felt like, I was like, oh, dude, you gotta be a better dad, bro. You gotta pick this up. But also, hey, Good job using the right context.
At least you're literate.
Yeah. He's a smart kid. My kids are. I think my youngest. So I have three. Obviously, if you don't know, if I haven't said, I have three kids. My youngest is 1 year old. The easiest kid we've had. She's smiley almost 100% of the time. She's stubborn because she won't walk, even though she's 1 year and 1 month. She just refuses to walk. She's so close. If you hold her hand with just a finger, she'll walk. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you slip the hand out, she'll be like, "Oh, I'll sit down, thanks." And it's like, oh. But she's so smiley and bubbly and laughs all the time. And I'm glad we finished on that, because it was our middle daughter has the most sass in the entire world, and she's just like me, and I can't handle it. It's way too much, and I get so frustrated, and I have to walk away a lot of times. I'm like, Brooke, deal with it. I can't do it. I'm gonna walk to my office, because she's so stubborn, and I'm like, yeah, that's me. I'm stubborn.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of smart, I got a question for y'all, and I like these types of questions because I like hearing. There's no wrong answer. I just like hearing other people's opinions on how they would problem solve stuff like this. So my buddy Jimmy, he's on Instagram. He's at Tennessee Forge and Metalworks, I think is his name on there. He's doing some hand honed cedar post. He hand hones them himself with the hand tools or whatever. They're like 6x6s, I think, probably 10 foot long. And a guy wants to buy some from him, but he needs one side of it hollowed out. So basically what the guy wants to do is put in construction framed rafters, and then use these to put over the rafters to make it look like
faux beam.
Exactly, like they're the beams. So he's got to basically hollow out a channel in a 6x6 all the way down, so they can be slid up on to the construction, 2x4s or whatever, and then screwed in. How, on something that large, would you take out that U channel all the way across? How would you do it?
I know Charles has done this before in like big logs, and he just uses a chainsaw, I'm pretty sure.
Chainsaw? That's not a bad. Yeah. It's not a bad way to look at it. He was asking me this question, and him and I were kind of talking back and forth, and I was like, I just like those questions because really there is no wrong answer as long as it gets the job done, right? But there's some answers that'll make it easier. Some will be harder, and then some are just personal preference. So
I like how all of our brain, I could see on the screen, we're all like, how do we do that?
You could probably use a track saw and just do a bunch of small cuts. And then
but it'll only go down 2.5 inches. It won't do. That was my first thought also. I mean, you could get that.
This is the exact path I went down, boys.
You could get that first level out.
Yeah, you could get
that way. And at least you could get like the sides, precision. But yeah, you probably, you could use like the cuts all stuff.
That might be the route to go, is just do the two outer, so you get perfectly straight, and you just do with your, oh my gosh, my brain fart. What were we just talking about?
Track saw.
Track saws. If you use your track saw and get the edges done, and then go through with a chainsaw and cut out the middle, and just clear it out, and use that just to clear out the whole thing. That might be the way to do it.
Or if you want to be a real savage, you could use all hand tools.
No thanks.
Well, he uses a lot of hand tools, so he did.
I'll say if he's hand hewing beams, then he should be used to it by now. I was watching that show Mountain Men on Discovery or whatever, and Tom, he's my favorite one on there. The old guy lives in Montana with the big white beard, and he got commissioned to do. I don't know if you guys watched this season, but he got commissioned to do like a Native American canoe. So he literally fell this tree and then like hollowed it. I think it was a cottonwood tree actually. Cottonwood or something like that. But anyway, he dropped it and then they hauled it out in the snow, drug it all the way back to his house, and then he like milled it by like freehand with a chainsaw lengthwise, and then like just he used like I think he called it like I I can't remember the name of it, but it's a tool that's like kind of like a hoe, but it's longer and skinnier.
Yeah.
And so you like use that to like, I can't remember what it's called right now, but you use that to like call out the big parts. And then he was like, screw this, and grabbed a chainsaw and started doing it with the chainsaw. But then he ended up poking a hole through it and had to patch it with like pine pitch and like buffalo dung and like this super old. It worked though. Last one I watched, he was paddling it around. But
that's cool.
So
his name, I would say chainsaw.
I got it wrong. It's TN as in Tennessee and Timber and Forge Works. But he did an entire barn with timber frame. So making all like hands, using just hand tools. And
that's awesome.
He did it really cheap using like wood, like trees that he cut down on his own land and stuff. And it was really neat. But
that's cool.
Anyway, I was on the same page as y'all, but I was thinking about the track saw thing only going down a couple inches, running along. You can make several passes and then kind of pop those out. And I was thinking if you probably use a electric planer, turn it all the way up, and you could run it down that channel once you have two sides to go down and take out the rest of it. It might take a while, I don't know, but
I don't know if you could get it down that far with like the motor sticking out the side either.
It's true. Yeah,
maybe.
I don't know.
So anyway, ways.
I like those kind of questions.
Yeah, that's cool. Good to see what other people would come up with.
Yeah,
but they make like he might even have it doing all that stuff like they call it a beam saw. Mm-hmm. It's basically a chainsaw with a guide plate, so you can like raise and lower the bar. So if he had one of those, I mean, he probably could think of that by himself. But if he wanted to get one because he's doing it a lot, that might be a good investment.
Yeah. Is that the one that you've seen them make mortises out of, or yeah?
Yeah,
that thing's cool. It's like
you can do that. Yeah, they call it a beam saw.
Okay, it's a tiny chainsaw. It's pretty small.
That one's something different. That's for only doing mortises, I believe. But like a beam saw is just like a for sure. Right. Yeah. No, beam saw is just like a chainsaw tipped up with like a circular saw guide plate basically on the bar. So you can cut like big glue lambs when you're doing headers and stuff.
That's cool.
But, yeah. Did you get any questions on your story?
You know what? I don't actually think I did. And once again, we say this 3 weeks in a row that we should do it earlier. First of all, I'm the only one that does it. I'm the only one that's taking this podcast seriously, guys.
I've got another question if you'd like for me to use the questions that I have that I didn't even ask.
Sure. Shoot. And I'll see if I have one.
So I have to look up the Instagram name to tell you exactly who asked it, but we were asked.
We're so prepared.
Yeah, I know, right? Was asked about our table saws, how much we like our table saws, and the Delta saws so Jesse, you have a Delta table saw. I have a Delta table saw. Yours is different than mine though. Yours is less horsepower than mine.
No, we have the same one.
Yeah, the 15 amp.
Yeah, so we use the same one. So I have that one, and I've also used the new 36725 T2, which is the most common one that you find in Lowe's. And
that's the one I was thinking of. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the black one. That one I've used a lot of, and I still use a lot of, but it's not in my shop. So the one question we did get was Delta table saw, yay or nay? So this goes right up that same thing. Anyway, and that was right out 7.
Yeah, that's the one who asked this question too.
Oh, really? Okay. So yeah, he asked it twice. He really wants to know.
Very curious.
Yeah, so I've used both. So ours are the older models, and we have the cast iron wings, right?
Right.
And the extension table. I love mine. I absolutely love mine. It's set up so you can go back from 110 to 220. I've never switched it. I just use 110. Works amazing. Never had an issue. There's been a couple times that I've been cutting really thick. I don't know if it was 8-quarter oak, something like that, or it was hickory or something. And I had my dust collector going on the same one, and it slowed down, and I'd have to do multiple passes. But other than that, it's been great. I've loved it. I think if you're in a manufacturing setting, it's probably not what you want to go for, but if you're in a home shop, it's perfect. Now the new one, the difference is it's a 15 amp motor. So we have a 13 amp motor. The new ones have 15 amp motors, but
no, mine's a 15 amp.
Yours is a 13 amp, almost positive. Because the new ones went down.
No, he sent me pictures because
really?
It's a 15
So then mine's a 15
amp
amp too. Mine's a 15 amp because we have the same one. You have the 36, 51, 52.
Yes.
Correct? That's what I have.
Or 5100 or whatever.
So the new 36 725 is a 15 amp as well. The first version was a 13 amp.
That's the one I had.
Yes. So they've changed that to a 15 amp motor.
That's good because it was gutless.
But it doesn't have compatibility to go to 220 anymore. So some people it's like a big, huge deal. I never did it, and I don't think most people do, to be honest. And so people are like, why isn't it 220? And I'm like, well, were you actually going to do it? Because most people I see don't do that. They just leave it at the 110 because it's fine. But other than that, it's a new design. It's very similar to the first one. The biggest difference is the new power switch. So if you're looking at the 36 725 T2, that new power switch is a lot better than ours. Apparently it was about a $50 upgrade. And now, I don't know if you've ever tripped your power and then not turn off your table saw, but on ours, if you do that and you just go and flip it back on, the table saw will start running again, which is dangerous if you have your piece stuck halfway through, right? The new power switch it's set up so that it kills it. So if it kills, even if you don't flip it off, it'll automatically turn off your motor and you'll have to reset the button. So it's just a safety mechanism. So it's a better power switch, but it's relatively the same saw. There's not much difference to it besides the design and the look. So I like it. I mean, they did have some issues with it. They had some fan issues with the motors with apparently a small batch of motors is what they came. You can check their statement online. But from what I've heard is that they've fixed everything, and everybody else that I've heard that has it looks like they like them. And I've had zero issues with the one that we've used and have. So anyway.
Yeah, I've always liked mine. Quick funny story about mine is I was looking for, I really wanted the Delta table saw, so I was looking for them on Craigslist when I was trying to find a good table saw to buy, and I was looking just for a used one, and I thought maybe I could get that good 15 amp one at a good price on Craigslist because, getting one that was a little used. And this guy had one advertised. He's like, brand new in the box, 15 amp Delta table saw, $750. I was like, oh, that's a good price. So I called him up. I was like, hey, I'm on my way. I'm basically, if it's brand new and in the box, I'm buying this thing, period. And if that's what it is. So I'm hitting the ATMs on the way, and all I can get out is like $600. And, as I'm going, it wouldn't let me take out any more. I was like, crap, and hit the ATM limit or whatever. So I'm already coming into this. I've got to deal this guy down. And every time you sell something on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, the guy shows up. He's like, all I got is, $600 in my wallet. And you're like, no, you don't. Give me the 700, Right. Well, for me, that's all I had. So I get there and I'm like, hey man, I just want to see the saw. He's like, yeah, I'll bring them out. So he brings them out and he brings out 2 boxes, and 2 big boxes. And I look at the boxes and they're brand new in the package or whatever. And he's like, look, I was running a woodworking business for a long time. My dad gave me the startup money. I bought this saw just to run dado stacks on. It's the only thing I was going to do with it. It's set over in the corner for 6 months. I've now gotten rid of the woodworking business, and I'm into he's doing roofing now or something. He's like, so I never use it. I never even unbox it. It's this tape still on it. I bought it from Lowe's. They loaded it up in my truck. It's sat in the corner. That's it. So I looked at the box, matched the serial numbers up on both the boxes. It said 1 of 2 and 2 of 2. So I was like, all right, cool. I was like, well, let me open up one of them and make sure. So I opened up one of them. It's like, all right, everything, looks like most of it is there. So I tell him how much money I got. I have to get him down to it. He wasn't very happy about it, but he ended up taking the money and loaded him up. I got him home, and I'm just not paying attention. I'm just running through this thing, right? Just trying to get this deal done, get to the house. So I get to the house. I'm excited. I pull one box off, the 1 of 2, start putting it together, and I get done, and I'm like, this is in this other box, this other giant box, because this saw looks like it's completely put together. And I open up the other box, and it's a whole nother saw.
Oh, wow.
He didn't realize.
He didn't realize. And it was mismarked, I guess, from Delta or from Lowe's, whoever marked the boxes.
Oh, wow.
So it was 2 15 amp, brand new in the box Delta table saws. The only thing that they were missing, the 2 of 2 box, is the table saw.
It's the rail.
It's the rails. It's the only thing that's in that other box is the rails. But they mismarked it. So I got 2 table saws and no rails. I had the fence and everything for $600.
Did you sell the other one?
For $600.
Yeah, that's what that's great. That's fantastic. So all you had to do is buy a rail, right?
Yeah, well, I used that and I upgraded to the big Bisomer rail system, which is the bigger system, and upgraded. And before I sold the other one, I took the other, because one side of it is cast iron, the other side of it is metal on those table saws.
Oh, really?
It's not. So this one was.
Oh, really? It's interesting.
Yeah. So center cast iron, left hand cast iron, right hand was the rails, or it was the metal or whatever. So I took the cast iron off the other one and put it on the right side of mine, and the one that I sold, it had 2 metal wings. So, which I told the guy, and he was happy with. For $600, he's like, it's brand new. I could care less. So
yeah,
dude, that's awesome. That's like a dream deal on Craigslist. Most of the time you show up and you're like, yeah, I'm here to buy the couch, and you walk in, you're like, this smells like cat piss. I'm not buying this.
And that's a recliner.
It's not even a couch. It's like, what?
That's my favorite story.
That's a large chair.
Yeah. We've done, dude. We had a horrible story. We bought this couch. My brother-in-law and I were roommates in our first year of college, and we drove and picked up this couch. They're like $10 for a couch, and we were like, what? In our dorm room? So awesome. I was 17, whatever. So we bought this. It was the ugliest floral 1970s couch, and we put in our thing, and I was sitting there playing video games or watching TV or whatever. And then, I look down my leg, and there's this tiny bug walking across my leg afterwards. I'm like, that's not good. And so this is how gross we were. Instead of being like, we need to get rid of this couch, we were just like, hey, let's throw a sheet on top of this couch because it's probably gross. We don't want to be sitting on it. So we literally threw a sheet on top of this couch, so we knew there was bugs in, and just dealt with it. We had it the entire year.
The fabric sheet will stop anything.
Oh, dude. It was so gross. I was like, what? Why didn't we throw it away? It's so gross. It smelled, but that's where I got to do. Literally walked in, and you're like, oh gosh, dude, it smells so bad in here. I don't know why we didn't just walk away and grab a different couch. I'm sure there was a bunch of different couches on Craigslist we could have bought.
Right.
But, we bought it. So anyway,
that's some stuff I would not buy off of used places.
Yeah.
Furniture.
I mean, you can buy.
It's like people are like, oh, I got this bed. It's still in good shape. I'm like, what?
Oh, no. Mattresses? No thanks. I will not buy a mattress off of a Facebook or Craigslist.
No, but then you'll stay in a motel.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's a good point.
I'm not even kidding. I think I was talking. Who was I talking about this the other day? He was talking about a guy that he knew. Oh, it was Brian. My neighbor Brian was telling me that.
Brian.
Yeah. Shout out Brian. Yeah, Brian. Every podcast we mentioned Brian. It was telling me about somebody that he knew or somebody he heard about. I can't remember now. But they had started out by they're flipping couches on Craigslist. Like, you buy a couch and then you can resell it for more than what you buy it for. And evidently there's like a giant market on Craigslist for it.
Wow.
All they do is stage it better.
If I tried that, I'd just end up with like 10 couches in my shed. Like, I can't get rid of these damn things, and I got to pay to take them to the dump.
He was telling them that the biggest part of it and why he made so much money is because he delivered. Because nobody has, he would always
trucks.
offer to deliver them. So nobody has trucks. So he'd buy all these couches and then resell them on Craigslist and add in a delivery fee, and said he just made an absolute killing off of it.
Makes sense. Because all my friends are asking me, hey, can you help me pick up this couch or mattress or all the time, because I have a truck and I'm the truck guy.
That's my life right there.
Now that I during the summer times I would usually take off the shell of my truck, but the last couple of years I keep it on most of the time. So I'm like, sorry man, the shell makes it hard to move that fridge, So sorry.
Don't ever buy a car trailer. You'll have so many friends.
Oh yeah, dude.
At least where I live. But like I showed you, we're apparently the most redneck city in California.
Dude, I'll take it.
I'm telling you right now, there is way more trucks here than cars.
Yeah.
It's funny. I thought trucks were illegal in California.
Right.
Well, by 2035,
gotta go to all electric.
Yeah, but 2035, all electric.
But then we're gonna shut the power off, so you can't charge that shit.
That's funny. I didn't even think about that. You're rolling blackouts. Yeah, that's gonna work out well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, we're about an hour in, a little over an hour.
I was gonna tell you that I went up to. Sorry, okay. I went up to took my mom up to see her house today. That was fun.
Oh, dude, how was that?
Man.
Yeah, she was good. I mean, saw pictures of it anyway, but we kind of drove around, like went to the cemetery where my grandparents are and stuff, and everything is just like a desert of ash. Like there's no trees, or I mean, there's sticks standing, where you could tell there was trees, but it's all pretty decimated. It's pretty crazy. But then there'll be like a random house just fine. Like it's so weird. Like the school that I went to is burned down, and like the only thing left is the post office, the bar, which are connected. And then, well, the post office is that's what my mom
sounds like
runs.
The town saved.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, pretty much. That's really all that was left. Like, I was telling my mom today because she was like, "That's so sad." I'm like, "Yeah, it is sad," but I already was like, I feel like it's already been gone like years ago, because it's nothing like it was when I was there. When I was a kid growing up there, it was like there was not a lot of people, but a lot of people for a small mountain community. There was the town itself back in like the 70s or whenever had like a huge lumber mill, and it was like a gold rush type thing. Like there was a whole village of houses that the company that owned the forest and stuff would house the loggers in and everything, and it just kind of continued from there, and that's how it grew. It was like basically like a lumber gold rush type thing, and it was huge back then, and now it's like there's no one. It's weird. And now it's just getting taken over by like pot growers and stuff. And like when that started happening, I was like, I don't care anymore. Yeah. So it's pretty weird. But yeah, it's crazy to see. Like you almost can't tell where you are because you're driving through and you're like, where is the? Oh, there's that road, but you can't tell because it's just all you can see for miles when you used to couldn't see 20 feet. So it's pretty weird.
Nuts, man.
She took it pretty well though.
Yeah, I mean, she already knew what it was. I was surprised because we went down into like the bottom level of where the house was. There was like a shed where like a lot of my dad's tools. I must have got all the good stuff out already. And there was just like a bunch of old stuff in there that I was gonna get out, but obviously waited too long, and that burned because the floor was like. That was actually the last thing me and my dad did together, I think, is put up that shed. It was like just one of those metal ones, but we just laid down like these thick cedar planks for the floor. And I was thinking like, oh, the metal shed will probably be fine. And I was like, oh shit, those cedar planks are definitely going to catch on fire because they stuck out past the shed. And so I'm assuming that's what happened, but it was crazy. Like I had a transmission in there, like an old turbo 350 transmission. And I was like, where the heck is I couldn't see. It was all burned. Everything was burned inside the shed, like all the tools and like everything was burned. But I went around the backside of the shed and there's this huge like puddle of aluminum, and I was like, oh, there's my transmission. It's just a crazy big molten, dude. It got hot. Like the side of the shed had a big hole in it where my dad's torch was, because I'm assuming the top, it looked like the top had like it got so hot it burned the top off, and then it was just blasting like either oxygen or acetylene through the wall of the shed. So it made this big like 10 or 12 inch hole in the side of the shed, and it had like ripples of metal like around it. Like it got so hot that it melted by blowing fire through the hole and like melted the metal, and it was like running down the side of the building when it cooled off. I'm like, that's pretty crazy.
That's nuts. I had
like you can't even open the toolboxes or anything, but I did get a couple of them, but everything's just garbage inside of them.
That's crazy.
So
I had an accident when I was a state trooper where this Hey.
so I was trying to figure out. So one, I didn't know that was a dog laying behind you.
Oh, right. you see, that's my dog Ben. He's a German Shepherd Husky. He looks like a bear, and then this one that's making all the noise is a lab.
I thought that there was just like a pile of something over there, and he started moving. So what is that? And then I could hear stuff in my headphones too.
If he keeps making noises, but. No, I had an accident when I was a state trooper where we patrol we have this canyon called Sardine Canyon. It's really dangerous in the wintertime, but this wasn't even wintertime. But this guy had a toy hauler but it wasn't a fifth wheel. It was just a bumper pull, right? Which is dangerous if you don't load it right, because you have a lot of weight in the back and you're going down this steep hill that
most people try to haul them with half tones.
Yeah. And this way it wasn't a big truck, and he was hauling it. And in Sardine Canyon, we had this spot called Big Curve, and we always get our worst accidents. And so he's coming down, and we get a call that, hey, this trailer flipped over in the canyon. It's blocking all lanes, which is the worst thing you can get. Blocking all lanes, the worst thing you get when the speed limit's 65 miles an hour around a corner through a canyon when it's becoming nighttime, right? So I'm running code 3. I'm freaking flying up there. And as I'm going around, because there's a cement barrier all the way up because of how many accidents we have, they had to put a cement barrier in to divide the traffic because people are going across traffic and stuff like that. So there's cement barriers, so you have to go past the way that the truck was coming down. So I had to go up the canyon all the way up. But as I was coming around one of the corners, I just start to see, because it was nighttime, the entire mountain orange, glowing orange. And I'm like, what the freak? And I come around and the whole trailer's engulfed in flames. Oh, and I was like, what the freak? So I'm flying past. I have to go all the way past this cement barrier, flip around, come back down. I get back down and I'm like, what happened? Like, why is it on fire? You know what I mean? Because accidents happen all the time. And in movies, you're like, yeah, an explosion. No, that never happens. It never happens. And so this entire thing is just completely engulfed. He was lucky enough that it actually broke part of the hitch. So it separated from his truck. And so his truck was able to like pull further enough, even with the chains. So it pulled enough, and he was able to unchain it and move his truck off before it completely engulfed. So his truck was fine. But dude, the entire thing was just engulfed. And by the end of it, you could see the ATVs they had, and it was just a shell. It was like it looked post-apocalyptic. It was just a tiny shell, and you could kind of tell what it was. It's the same thing though. You're just like, is that an ATV? And he's like, yeah. So I'm asking because I'd get all this info for the accident. So hey, stop it. I'm sorry. And so I had to get all his info for the thing. So I'm like, okay, so this was your truck, right? Yeah, it's my truck. I'm like, so this is your trailer, right? He's like, no, it's my buddy's. I'm like,
oh no.
This isn't your trailer? No, it's my friend's. What about the ATVs? ATVs yours? They're my buddies. Oh, geez. Okay. All right. So I'm like, write down the info. I'm like, do you know why that it caught fire? He's like, oh my God, that dog. He's like, the best guess that I have that it caught on fire was that we were going up black powder musket or like rifle shooting. And so we had a bunch of black powder in the back. Maybe that caught, and maybe that's what came. He's like, because there was an explosion and it was delayed, but like as we hit, something must have sparked, and it was like poof, and it actually exploded. And it shouldn't have exploded. The trailer shouldn't have exploded because there's no gas in the trailer. So that was his best guess at that. I was like, who knows? We will never know what actually happened, but right. It was freaking nuts. And there's still a big old burn mark in the highway. Every time I'm passing, I'm like, that idiot taking it away. Definitely lost a friend that day. You know, that guy. Right. That guy's down one less friend after that.
That's a tough phone call to make to your buddy.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, remember that really trailer?
Nice trailer with all those ATVs.
Funny story.
Yeah, he's like, you have insurance, right? Just asking. No particular reason.
Before we go into this story.
Yeah, but that was anyway.
Yeah, my buddy had one of those new. Like I remember what I think it was like. Can't remember what brand, but anyway, it was all a new dirt bike, and it was all aluminum. Like the frame and everything was aluminum motor, like everything. And his place burned when that campfire happened in 2018, and you could see like where like there was like the metal stand where the bike was, and then just like a lengthwise 5 foot long molten pile of aluminum on the ground. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah,
imagine how hot that had to get to do that.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, we looked at the house, and I was like trying to look through stuff, and I'm like, there's nothing left here. That's crazy. We got like some of the garden stuff, like the stepping stones. Obviously, they're not going to burn. Got a couple things out of there, but that was about it. And I got a high lift jack that my dad had, so that was kind of cool.
Oh, nice. It didn't burn?
It got like, it was leaning up against the shed, so it got hot, but it didn't like, it's like an old army style one.
Yeah.
So it was pretty heavy duty. It probably, I think it didn't work before, but I took it anyway.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Well, boys, we're at 1 hour and 15 minutes ish, so I'll probably wrap it up. But thanks for everyone for watching. Make sure that you check out Work Gear as well. Help support the podcast. Make sure you share it. Oh, also, Jesse P is wearing a Go Build Something shirt. If you guys are interested in Go Build Something shirts, let us know. Message one of us. Or we could throw up that super long email that Jesse made for some reason, and we can throw that up. You can email us, but most likely you'll just DM us. So, but let us know. We're thinking about throwing some of those up for sale as well. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. We'll also rate us on iTunes. That also helps boost the podcast as well. So thanks for watching, guys. Go build something.